Ever been told you were a difficult child? Too sensitive, too loud, too quiet, too much. The one who asked why constantly and was told to stop questioning. The one who cried too easily and was told to toughen up. The one who saw what others pretended not to see and was punished for honesty. Maybe you still carry that label, difficult, as if your nature was a problem to solve, as if the way you came into the world was wrong. And now, as an adult, you wonder, was I really difficult? Or was I just different in a family that valued obedience over understanding? That African proverb captures something devastating. Children aren't born difficult. They become labeled difficult when their needs aren't met, their truth isn't heard, their nature isn't accepted. And that child grows into an adult who either burned themselves down trying to fit or learned to embrace the fire they were told to extinguish. Being the difficult child isn't about being bad or broken. It's about being misunderstood, oversensitive in an undersensitive world, or simply incompatible with the family system you were born into. And difficult children usually fall into one of 4 types. Each type reveals something powerful about authenticity, sensitivity, and the courage to be yourself when no one wanted you to be. Let's break it down. Type 1, the questioner, the why child. They weren't difficult, they were curious. But in families that valued obedience over understanding, questioning was seen as defiance. Because I said so was the answer to every why. And they learned early, your need to understand is inconvenient. Your curiosity is a problem.
Psychologically, these children had high cognitive need and low tolerance for arbitrary rules. Their brains required logical frameworks. When told to do something without explanation, their brain couldn't comply. Not out of rebellion, but out of genuine need to understand why. Here's what happened. Every question was met with irritation. Stop asking so many questions. Just do what you're told. You think too much. And their brain internalized, my mind is too much. Thinking is wrong. Compliance is love. But they couldn't stop questioning. It was wired into them. So they were labeled difficult, the problem child, the one who always had to argue, when really they just needed to understand before they could cooperate, and no one gave them that. Think about the child who asked, "Why do we go to church?" and was told they're being disrespectful, who asked, "Why can't I do that?" and was punished for talking back, who needed logical explanations and got authoritarian demands instead. They weren't being difficult. They were trying to make sense of a world that demanded blind obedience. As adults, they struggle with authority, not because they're oppositional, but because they still need to understand why. They question everything, rules, traditions, systems, and they're often seen as difficult employees, difficult partners, difficult people, when really they're just people whose brains need logical frameworks to function. Their wound, my curiosity was punished, so I learned to doubt my mind. And that doubt creates decades of questioning whether their need to understand is valid or difficult. Comment if you're type 1. I was the why child. Type 2, the sensitive one, the too much child. They felt everything deeply. Joy was euphoria, sadness was devastation, anger was volcanic. And in families that valued emotional control, their intensity was seen as dysfunction. You're too sensitive. Stop being so dramatic. Why do you always overreact? Psychologically, these children were highly sensitive persons, HSPs. Their nervous systems processed emotions more deeply than others, not as a choice, but as neurological wiring. Research shows 15 to 20% of people are born this way, and in families that don't understand it, they're labeled difficult. Here's the damage. Every emotional expression was met with dismissal or punishment. Crying was weakness, excitement was too much, fear was cowardice.
And they learned, my feelings are wrong. I am too much. I need to be less to be loved. But they couldn't be less. Their sensitivity wasn't a choice. So they were labeled the problem, the dramatic one, the one who makes everything about them, when really they were just experiencing normal emotions at higher intensity than their family could handle. Think about the child who cried easily and was mocked, who got overly excited and was told to calm down, who felt others' pain deeply and was told they're being ridiculous. Their emotional depth wasn't a flaw, but their family treated it like one. As adults, they struggle with emotional expression. They've learned to suppress, to minimize, to apologize for feeling. They say, "I'm sorry, I'm being too much," when they're just being human. And they choose partners who are emotionally unavailable because that's what feels familiar. Their wound. My emotions were too much, so I learned to feel nothing or feel everything in secret. And that wound creates a lifetime of either emotional shutdown or emotional overwhelm with no middle ground. Comment if you're type 2. I felt too much. Type 3. The truth teller, the disrespectful child. They saw the truth everyone pretended not to see. Dad's drinking, mom's unhappiness, the family's dysfunction, and they spoke it. Why is dad always angry? Why does mom cry at night? And they were labeled difficult for refusing to participate in collective denial. Psychologically, these children had low tolerance for cognitive dissonance. Their brains couldn't hold contradictions. When the family said everything's fine but clearly wasn't, their brain rejected the lie. Not to be difficult, but because truth was a psychological need. Here's what happened. Every time they spoke truth, they were silenced. Don't say that. You're being disrespectful. We don't talk about that. And they learned truth is dangerous. Speaking reality makes you the problem. Keeping secrets is love. But they couldn't unsee what they saw, so they either kept speaking truth and were scapegoated, or they learned to suppress it and became anxious, depressed, or physically ill, because holding lies inside your body creates sickness.
Think about the child who pointed out that grandpa was mean and was punished for disrespecting elders, who asked why parents fought if they loved each other and was told to mind their business, who saw dysfunction and was blamed for creating it by naming it. They weren't being difficult, they were being honest in a dishonest system. As adults, they're either brutally honest and often punished for it, or they've learned to lie to keep peace. They struggle in relationships because they can't perform happy when they're not. They can't pretend everything's fine when it's falling apart, and that makes them difficult partners. Their wound, my honesty was punished, so I learned truth is dangerous. And that wound creates either chronic people-pleasing, lying to be loved, or chronic isolation, can't find people who want truth. Type 4, the different one, the wrong fit child. They didn't fit the family mold, the quiet one in a loud family, the artistic one in a practical family, the dreamer in a family of realists, and their difference was treated as deficiency. Why can't you be more like your sibling? What's wrong with you? When are you going to be normal? Psychologically, these children had temperament incongruence with their family system, not by choice, but by nature. And in families that value conformity, difference is seen as defiance. Being yourself becomes being difficult. Here's the devastation. Their authentic self was rejected from the beginning, not through abuse, but through constant subtle messages. You're not what we wanted. You should be different. You're disappointing us by being you. And they tried. They tried to be louder, quieter, more practical, less emotional. They contorted themselves trying to fit, but they couldn't change their fundamental nature. So they were labeled difficult, the weird one, the black sheep, when really they were just themselves. Think about the introverted child in an extroverted family, constantly pressured to come out of their shell. The sensitive boy in a family that mocked emotion. The intellectual child in an anti-intellectual family. They weren't wrong, they were just born into the wrong system. As adults, they struggle with belonging everywhere. They learned early being yourself means being rejected, So they either hide forever, chronic masking, or they
Rebel aggressively, chronic rejection of all groups. Neither creates genuine belonging. Their wound? My authentic self wasn't acceptable, so I learned to hide or to fight. And that wound creates a lifetime of either people-pleasing invisibility or defensive isolation. The deeper psychology, what all four types share. Here's what's devastating. All four types share the same core wound. I am too much and not enough simultaneously. They were too curious, too sensitive, too honest, too different, and also not obedient enough, not controlled enough, not conformist enough, not right enough. Research in developmental psychology shows that children labeled difficult often have nothing wrong with them. They're often gifted, sensitive, or temperamentally mismatched with their caregivers. But instead of the family adapting, the child is blamed. There's also shared chronic shame. All four types internalized something is fundamentally wrong with me. Not my behavior needs adjusting, but my existence is problematic. And that shame shapes everything. Relationships, careers, self-perception. Another universal trait, hypervigilance. All four learn to scan constantly for disapproval. Type 1 monitors for when their questions annoy. Type 2 monitors their emotional expression. Type 3 monitors what truths are speakable. Type 4 monitors how well they're fitting in. That vigilance is exhausting and never turns off. They've all also become either over-compliant or defiant. Some difficult children learn to suppress themselves entirely, people pleasers. Others embraced the label and became actually difficult, rebels. But both are reactions to the same wound. Being yourself wasn't safe. And here's the most painful shared truth. They still blame themselves. Even decades later, even after therapy, part of them thinks, maybe I was difficult. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I should have been different. And that self-blame is the deepest wound of all. The long shadow, how difficult shapes adulthood.
Let's talk about what carrying this label does long-term. Because the difficult child becomes an adult who either shrinks or explodes with little middle ground. In relationships, they either become chameleons, hiding all needs to avoid being too much, or they test constantly, pushing to see if they'll be rejected for being themselves. Healthy interdependence feels impossible. In careers, Type 1 struggles with authority. Type 2 struggles with feedback, feels like rejection. Type 3 struggles in hierarchies, can't lie to bosses. Type 4 struggles with company culture, never fits. In self-perception, chronic imposter syndrome, persistent feeling that people will discover the real them and leave. Difficulty accepting love, success, or belonging because they still see themselves as fundamentally problematic. In mental health, higher rates of anxiety, hypervigilance, depression, shame, and complex PTSD. Chronic invalidation is trauma. Not because they're weak, but because being told you're wrong for existing is devastating. But here's what's crucial. The label was wrong. They weren't difficult. They were children with needs that weren't met, truths that weren't heard, natures that weren't accepted. The difficulty wasn't in them. It was in the system that couldn't accommodate them. Here's the truth they need to hear. Every trait that made you difficult is actually a strength. Type 1's questioning, that's critical thinking, intellectual courage, bullshit detector. Type 2's sensitivity, that's empathy, emotional intelligence, artistic depth. Type 3's truth-telling, that's integrity, courage, leadership. Type 4's difference, that's uniqueness, innovation, authenticity.
The world needs questioners. It needs feelers. It needs truth tellers. It needs people who don't fit molds. The problem was never you. It was a family system that demanded conformity instead of celebrating diversity. Healing starts with reframing. I wasn't difficult, I was different, and different is valuable. That's not arrogance, that's accuracy. You were a square peg in a round hole, and instead of the hole adapting, you were told to sand yourself down. The work is learning to unsand yourself, to reclaim your questions, your feelings, your truth, your uniqueness, to find people who don't find you difficult, but find you fascinating, to build a life where being yourself isn't a problem, but a gift.
So which type were you? The questioner? The sensitive one? The truth teller? The different one? Maybe all four at different times. Whatever you were, understand this. You weren't difficult. You were inconvenient to a system that needed you to be smaller, quieter, less true. And you refused. Maybe not consciously, but your nature refused. And that refusal saved who you actually are. The child who questioned everything became the adult who thinks critically. The child who felt everything became the adult who loves deeply. The child who told truth became the adult with integrity. The child who didn't fit became the adult who creates new paths. You weren't the problem. You were the solution that your family wasn't ready for. Comment below which type you were. Share this with another difficult child who needs to hear they were never broken. And this week, do one thing your family would have called difficult, but is actually just you being yourself. Because difficult is often just another word for authentic, and authenticity is worth every label they gave you. Welcome home to yourself.